In the sports world, some teams measure their success on the matter of whether or not it's in the right alignment with each other. The players must be on the same page, the coaching must be on the same page, and the staff must all have the same ideas on how to bring wins to the team and achieve their goals in winning. But not only in sports, but in all walks of life, there must be an alignment in order to achieve. The people in law enforcement must be in alignment with catching bad guys. The military must be aligned with each other. I remember when I served in the Army, we did a joint exercise that involved all military forces as one unit. It was a big exercise that involved Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and others to come in alignment with each other. Even though there were a lot of different job skills, they all had to come in alignment in order to have success. If one element fails, it could cause the whole structure to collapse. They must all stay in alignment. We were having some construction going on in my area where the electric company were mainly involved. I assumed electrical companies dealt with electricity only. I didn't know they repaired sewage drainage and water systems as well. But they came out with a lot of heavy equipment with the company name on it. That's when I realized they have more specialties than just electricity. But the electric company may have had 10% of the work done by some subcontract companies. My wife and I were relieved that they finally finished the project, at least in our area. But I believe these companies had to be in alignment with each other in order to complete the work. The kingdom of Yahuah must be in alignment in order to fulfill the Father's will. Satan fell out of alignment with the Creator by doing his own will instead of staying in alignment with Yahuah. He had his own ideas on how people should serve the Father, Yahuah. We must accept all the Father's will and come in alignment with Him. Mashal 3:5-7. Trust in Yahuah with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Know Him in all your ways, and He makes all your paths straight. Do not be wise in your own eyes. Fear Yahuah and turn away from evil. We must stay in alignment with Yahuah. It's been going on more than a year and a half when I began making videos, and it came to my mind a few videos ago if anyone in my family thought I made characters to look like them in the videos. I can say with confidence I never intended to draw out a character to look like someone from my family or outside my family. I download a lot of these models from stock videos online. When I download, I may look for categories like thinking faces or sad faces or maybe a person praying. But when they're added to my videos, it's based on the subject, more so than trying to single out someone. I must admit that I have recognized some that may or may not remind me of someone in the family. But I can tell you I never once intentionally added a character with a motive to make them look like someone I know personally. I give more testimony of myself than anyone, and while doing so, I may use characters that are black, white, or others. I'm not trying to build a character of myself. It sounds twisted just thinking that I'm praising Yahuah and singling out people at the same time. I'm not questioning the name Jesus and at the same time attacking people like family members. My videos may appear to be twisted to some viewers, but my main focus has always been promoting the name Yahuah. Yes, sometimes family members may be directly or indirectly in line with my witnessing and my testimonies, but I never drawed out characters. But my goal is to promote the truth of the Masorah that I've been studying, and by doing so, I may cross the line with family members. But the testimony I give and the characters I show are unrelated. Have you ever heard of a villain that tries to destroy everything, and you reach out one last time to try to save them from falling from the cliff, but instead of letting you give them a hand to save them, they try to take you off the cliff with them? So if anyone can successfully label someone as that person, why would anyone want to hear what they have to say concerning the Masorah? I do remember many years ago one character that looked like a family member back in the day, but I discovered it well after finishing making the video, but I never used the model with the idea of characterizing someone in my family. Tahilim 11. In Yahuah I have taken refuge. Why do you say to me, flee to your mountains like a bird? Well, look, the lawless bend a bow. They set the arrow on the string to shoot the darkness at the upright in heart. When the foundations are destroyed, what shall the obedient do? Yahuah is in his Kodesh HaKal. The throne of Yahuah is in the Shamayim. His eyes see. his eyelids examine the sons of men. Yahuah tries the obedient, but his being shall hate the lawless and the one who loves violence. Upon the lawless he rains snares, fire and sulfur and scorching wind are the portion of their cup. For Yahuah is obedient, he has loved the obedience. The upright shall see his face. So I believe obedience is the main factor when forming a relationship with Elohim. He who says they know him and do not keep his commands is a liar and do not follow truth. We can't serve two worlds. We can love only one, the kingdom of this world or the kingdom of Yahuah. We must remember that we are in this world but not of this world. We must become Kadesh from the things of the world, like men's tradition. In recent months, I come to realize the reason I struggled with some of the sins in my life was because of disobedience. But when I began obeying Yahuah's Besorah, it became less of a struggle. You began recognizing the power of the Ruach HaKodesh in your life. And coming into the knowledge of knowing Yahuah's power to deliver you from sins is a blessing. You began following the straight line of Yahuah Elohim, who is blessed more than anyone. But Yahuah wants you to be blessed, just as he is blessed. But the key to knowledge, true knowledge, is obedience. From previous videos I mentioned about the fact that I don't share dreams because there is no way of knowing where the dream came from. I can attest that I have had dreams that came to pass, but not all dreams are accurate. But I still can't put my faith in dreams because dreams need to be interpreted, and Yahuah Elohim is the only one qualified to interpret dreams. For example, Joseph dreamed of him and his family, but didn't come to pass for many years later. Then Yahuah began showing Joseph the dream interpretation after he was put in bondage down in Mistram. But just like Daniel and Joseph, they had to wait for the interpretation to be revealed from Yahuah. So be careful of those that declare they have the gift to interpret dreams. Only Yahuah can 100% accurately interpret dreams. 2 Malachi 4. And it certain Ashar, the wives of the sons of the prophets, cried out to Elijah, saying, Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know your servant feared Yahuah, and the learners have come to take my sons to be his slaves. And Elijah said to her, What should I do for you? Inform me, what do you have in the house? And she said, Your female servant has none at all in the house except a pot of oil. And he said, Go borrow vessels from everywhere, from all your neighbors, empty vessels, do not get a few. And when you have come in, you should shut the door behind you and your sons, then pour it into all the vessels, and set aside the filled ones. So she went from him and shut the doors behind her and her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured it out. And it came to be when the vessels were filled that she said to her son, Bring me another vessel. But he said to her, There is not another vessel, and the oil ceased. So she went and informed the man of Elohim, and he said, Go sell the oil and pay your debt, and you and your sons live on the rest. And it came to be on the yom that Elijah went to Shunem, where there was a prominent Ashar, and she urged him to eat some food. And it came to be as he passed by there that he turned in there to eat some food. And she said to her husband, Look, I know this is a Kadesh man of Elohim, who passed by us continually. Please let us make a small upper room on the wall, and let us put a bed for him there, and a table and a chair and a lampstand, and it shall be whenever he comes to us, let him turn in there. And it came to be on the yom that he turned in there, and he turned in to the upper room and lay down there. And he said to Chikazi his servant, Call the Shulamite Ashar. So he called her, and she stood before him. And he said to him, Please say to her, Look, you have gone through all the trouble for us. What is there to be done for you? Should I speak on your behalf to the king or the commanders of the army? And she answered, I am dwelling among my own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Chikazi answered, Well, she has no son, and her husband is old. And he said, Call her. So he called her, and she stood in the doorway. And he said, About this time next year ye shall embrace a son, and her husband is old. And she said, No, my Adonai, man of Elohim, do not lie to your female servant. And the Ashar conceived and bore a son when the appointed time had come, of which Elijah had spoken to her. And the child grew, and it came to be on the yom that he went out to his father to the weepers. And he said to his father, My head, my head. And he said to his servant, Take him to his mother. So he took him and brought him to his mother. and he sat on her knee till noon, and died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of Elohim, and shut the door on him, and went out. So she called her husband and said, Please send me one of the young men and one of the donkeys. So I hurried to the man of Elohim and returned. And he said, Why are you going to him today? It's neither the new month nor the Shabbat. And she said, It is well. And she saddled the donkey, and she said to her servant, Drive and go, and do not slow down, except I speak to you. And she went and came to the man of Elohim at Mount Carmel. And it came to be when the man of Elohim saw her at a distance, that he said to his servant Gehazi, See, the Shulamite of Shah. Please run now and meet her and say to her, Is it well with you? Is it well with your husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, It is well. And she came to the man of Elohim at the hill, and she caught him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to push her away. But the man of Elohim said, Leave her alone, for her being is bitter in her, and Yahuah has hidden it from me, and has revealed it to me. And she said, Did I ask the son of my Adonai? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? And he said to Gehazi, Gird up your loins, and take up my staff in your hand, and go. And when you meet anyone, do not greet him. And when anyone greets you, do not answer him. And you shall lay my staff on the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, As Yahuah lives, and as your being lives, I do not leave you. And he rose and followed her. And Gehazi went on ahead of them, and laid the staff on the face of the child. For there was no voice, and there was no hearing. So he went back to meet him, and reported to him, saying, The child has not awakened. And Elijah came into the house, and saw the child was dead, lying in his bed. And he went in and shut the door behind the two of them, and prayed to Yahuah. And he went up and laid on the child, and put his mouth on his mouth, and his eyes on his eyes, and his hands on his hands, and stretched himself out on the child, and the flesh of the child became warm. And he returned and walked back and forth in the house, and went up and stretched himself out on him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi and said, Call the Shulamite. So he called her, and she came in to him. And he said, Pick up your son. Then she went in and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and picked up her son, and went out. And Elijah returned to Gilgal, and a scarcity of food was in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said to his servant, Put on the large pot, and cook stew for the sons of the prophets. And one went out to the field to gather plants, and found a wild vine, and gathered the wild cucumbers from it, filling the skirt of his garment, and came to slice him into the pot of stew, though they did not know what they were. They then served it to the men to eat, and it came to be, as they were eating the stew, that they cried out and said, O man of Elohim, there is death in the pot, and they were unable to eat it. And he said, Then bring some flour, and he put it into the pot, and said, Serve it to the people to eat. And there was no evil matter in the pot. Now a man came from Baal Shalishah, and brought the man of Elohim bread of the first fruit, 20 loaves of barley bread, and newly ripe grain in his knapsack. And he said, Give it to the people to eat. And his servant said, What? Do I set this before 100 men? And he said, Give it to the people to eat. For thus say Yahuah, Eat and have some left over. And he set it before them, and they ate, and they had some left over, according to the word of Yahuah. I was browsing a YouTube channel where a preacher was teaching that Elohim has many names, according to the national language being spoken. He taught that Spanish may use the name Jesus, or Arabic they may use the name Yahweh, and the Hebrews may use the name Yeshua and many other names from all other foreign languages. His point was, even though the name changed, it still has the same meaning. But does it really have the same meaning? For example, in one of the early studies I learned that the name Jesus derived from the name Jesus, which origin is Zeus. I also learned that the meaning of Jesus is Hail Zeus. The origin of a name may have a lot to do about its meaning. I'm not searching for lies, I'm searching for the truth. And sometimes, in order to find truth, you must seek out the lie. But my question is, why did people that spoke a different language have to change the name? What is so hard about saying the name Yahuah? Tehillim 145. I exalt you, Elohim, King, and bless your name forever and ever. All yom long I praise you, and bless your name forever and ever. Great is Yahuah, and greatly is to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Generation after generation praise your works, and they declare your mighty acts. I declare the esteemed splendor of your excellency and the matter of your wondrous works. And they speak of the might of your awesome acts, and I recount your greatness. They send forth the remembrance of your great goodness, and they sing of your obedience. Yahuah shows favor and is compassionate, patient, and great in kindness. Yahuah is good to all, and he has compassion on all works. All your works give thanks to you, O Yahuah, and your kind ones bless you. They speak of the esteem of your reign, and talk of your might, to make known to the sons of men his mighty acts, and the esteemed splendor of his reign. Your reign is an everlasting reign, and your rule is throughout all generations. Yahuah is supporting all who are falling, and raising up all who are bowed down. The eyes of all look to you expectantly, and you are giving them their food in its season, opening your hand and satisfying the desire of all that live. Yahuah is obedient in all his ways, and kind in all his works. Yahuah is near to all who call upon him, to all who call upon him in truth. He does the desire of those who fear him, and he hears their cry and saves them. Yahuah preserves all those loving him, but all lawless ones he destroys. My mouth speaks the praise of Yahuah, and let all flesh bless his Kodesh name forever and ever. Last night while my wife and I was driving home, I saw a quarter moon that looked like it had a smiling face. My wife noticed off to the right of the moon a bright light, and she said she thinks it's a star, but I said no, it must be a plane because the light was sitting low next to the moon. And as we drove further down the road, we noticed that the light wasn't moving. Then I realized my wife was right. It was a star. And as I looked around in the sky, I couldn't find no other stars in the sky. The sky was totally pitch black, except for the quarter moon and that one bright star. The star was so bright it was like the brightest light I ever seen in the sky, and it was the only light up there other than the quarter moon. Then a thought came to mind. Could it be the North Star? I'm not sure if it was, but as I kept observing the star, it was so bright that it was actually glittering. It was a beautiful sight to see. Then I thought of how much of a blessing it was to witness something that causes you to know how great Yahuah is in making his works. Generation after generation praises Yahuah's works. That same star that I witnessed has been around from one generation to the next. Yahuah's reign is everlasting, and his reign is for all generations. We learned the true name of Elohim, and he gave us his name through the Besorah. That name is to last from generation to generation. His name is Yahuah. Yahushua said, if you have a believing faith, whatever you ask for shall be given to you. But I believe he's talking about things that can benefit you from above. If those children of Elohim ask for a snake, Yahuah knows a snake can harm them or harm others. He will not give it to them. We shouldn't ask Elohim for things that cause us to do evil. If we're out there doing evil things, it didn't come from Yahuah. Tehillim 140. Rescue me, O Yahuah, from the men of evil. Preserve me from men of violence, who have devised evil in their hearts. They stir up conflict all young long. They sharpen their tongues like a snake. The poison of cobras is under their lips. Selah. Guard me, O Yahuah, from the hand of the lawless. Guard me from men of violence who have schemed to trip up my steps. The proud have hidden a trap for me, and course they have spread a net by the wayside. They have set snares for me. Selah. I said to Yahuah, you are my all. Hear the voice of my prayers, O Yahuah. O Adonai Yahuah, my saving strength, you have screened my head in the yam of battle. Do not grant the desire of the lawless, Yahuah. Do not promote his scheme. Selah. Those who surround me lift up their head. The trouble of their lips cover them. Let burning coal fall on them. Let them be made to fall into the fire, into deep pits. Let them not rise again. Let not a slander be established in their rest. Let evil hunt the man of violence speedily. I have known Yahuah maintains the cause of the afflicted, the lawfulness of the poor. Only let the obedient give thanks to your name. Let the straight ones dwell in your presence. Thanks for watching and thanks for sharing. If Yahuah is willing, I'll see you on the next video. So until then, stay blessed and be blessed and continue to be blessed. Hallelujah. Praise Yahuah.